Hello, my name is David Plylar, and I'm here with Concerts from the Library of Congress. And I'm here with Paul Beckett, and I'm so pleased to welcome him. He's representing Klangforum Wien, an ensemble that we have been wanting to get to be a part of our series for many, many, many years, and it finally worked out just in time for our hall to be shut down for repairs. They have been very adaptable and willing to kind of fit over at St. Mark's Episcopal Church, where they will be performing tonight. So welcome, Paul.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. And so I thought we would just talk a bit about the program that's going on and also about the ensemble in general, and maybe get some maybe you can give us some insider knowledge on the group. So maybe we could start there, because the first work that's on the program is by David Plylar, and he's a composer who founded the group.
Yes.
You want to say a bit about him? And
Yeah, I mean, from my personal opinion, I've been in Klangforum for 1 year, so I'm very fresh there. So coming from the outside, Plylar is one of the finest composers of our time. And he's so important to Klangforum, founded it in 1985. And yeah, I think Klangforum is such an important part of new music today, and so is he, and they hand in hand grew,
I always kind of thought of him. I came to know the group not through hearing them live, but just through the recordings, and so I always thought of him as kind of like their classical composer, if there were such a thing for a modern composer with the group. So that's wonderful. That when did you first kind of get to know about the group, and what's your background? You're a violist, and you've been playing with a number of wonderful ensembles. Maybe just tell us a bit about that, how you came to be with Klangforum.
Yeah, I studied in England, where I'm from, and after an injury on the viola, I stopped for a few years, and when I came back in, I wanted to try something else, and so I went down this route of trying some new music. I did some Ligeti Viola Sonata. Through this, I met Garth Knox. He was in the Arditi Quartet, and founding of Ensemble Intercontemporain in Paris. And I spent some time with him, and he recommended I went to Frankfurt, where I met Ensemble Modern. I studied the academy there. After this, I joined Ensemble Recherche in Freiburg, who were, I think they're sort of the first unconducted group of contemporary music, which I think was kind of extreme for the time, to imagine such complex music unconducted. And then my journey took me to Klangforum, which is a really fantastic new home for me. I love it there.
And how often do you tour with the group? How much does the group stay in place, or does it tour much?
So we have a concert series in Vienna, at the Concert House in Vienna. I think we do 10 concerts a year there. And then we travel a lot. So, I mean, I've just finished my trial year there, and already I've been to Spain, to Japan, to South Korea.
Wow.
And now here, so we're on the road a lot, yeah.
That's wonderful. I mean, so we're grateful to you for many reasons, for being so flexible with our situation here, but also for being willing to kind of put together a different program than one that you're going to be playing later this week. And so it's sort of a bespoke program for us, and it's starts with a work by Plylar. It's Linea dell'Orizzonte. Yes. And this I always find his music to be so full of energy. It's like always, even if it's something relatively simple happening, yeah, it's something that's a very kinetic,
but electric. Sort of, it's really alive.
And so I think that our audience is going to really enjoy that, and I
think so.
Especially maybe I could skip a piece, but considering that one in light of the Xenakis work that's also in the program, and that's the one that you're going to be featured in.
Yes.
Right? It's this Anocteria, and now this work, the Beat Plylar piece is from 2012. And if I'm remembering correctly, the Xenakis is from 1969. Yeah. And so, there's quite a bit of a difference there. But there's something similar to me about these pieces in that there's kind of an exploration of what's happening around sound at kind of a local level. But what's your experience like just playing the work?
always for me to play Xenakis is kind of epic. Is this huge, especially in this one, these huge sounds, so much energy and force, and you go from this to nothing, you know, and it's between these contrasts.
Well, there's the wonderful the way that he kind of sets up the noise of the strings at times next to both in the kind of the gritty types of sounds, but also with the harmonics.
Yeah.
And how those hit with the clarinet in different ways, especially with these kind of big dramatic gestures. It's a little bit. It's kind of a I don't know. It's not exactly the normal Xenakis that everybody knows.
Yeah. It's very similar to, we toured a piece called Cranag. And it's very similar, the writing from that time as well.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Well, I mean, I'm imagining that you're disappointed that we're not doing the viola in my life as our second piece for the program. But the reason that we have Morton Feldman's Spring of Cosros on the program is that he wrote that work as part of as a McKim Fund commission, and our McKim program or McKim Fund at the Library of Congress is a fund that allows for new works for violin and piano only to be composed, and we've had a number of great ones. The Elliott Carter Duo came about this way, and other things. And so it's a wonderful way to kind of feature this part of our library's history, and you were all willing to do that. And so we'll get to hear this work for violin and piano as kind of an intermediary piece. But have you played much Feldman at all?
I've played the viola in my life.
Okay. So
yes.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful music.
It's amazing, and it's really a challenge in itself of concentration and really control of sound. You know, it's incredible music he writes.
Yeah. And for those who don't know as much about Morton Feldman's music, a lot of it is very slow and very soft and very long.
Yes.
This one is not so long, so there's no worries there. But in terms of, it's wonderful. And this piece, there's an element of the imperfections in kind of carpet imagery that kind of comes up as a wonderful kind of metaphor for what's happening in the music, and so I think it's a really nice piece.
It's fantastic, yeah.
Maybe you can say a bit about the kind of the big piece in the program by Liza Lim, the Extinction Events and Dawn Chorus, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes. So this, I've forgotten the word, but it's about these. It's about the pollution in the ocean.
Like the gyres of.
That's the gyres. That's the one, and when it gets caught in the current, and I was listening to the dress rehearsal today, and you're really aware of this in how she writes it. Somehow the whole becomes the ocean in a way, and you get this thematic material that just circles around. You get these little bits here and there, and you have the solo violin, which the lower two strings are detuned. So on the higher strings, you get these brilliant harmonics, the sound of the fish, and then you get this complete other world in the scordatura. And it sounds incredible. I think within the whole program, you're going to hear, I think the audience are going to hear a lot of sounds that they haven't heard before, most likely, yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful, I think that's a wonderful aspect of kind of the experimental open-mindedness of not only the players in the group, but also the composers who write for you, because I think that this was a commission.
It was, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's kind of a wonderful aspect of it. One thing I've been meaning to ask you, and I'm trying to remember exactly where it's located, but there's an educational component, like an outreach component to Klangforum as well, right? That's one of the things that you aim to do, is to help kind of interact with your community and get people to understand what it is that you're doing and things like that. And maybe you could say a bit about.
Yeah, we do a lot of things, from working with young composers, commissioning new works, but also working with children. So actually, I've been really thrown into that in my first year, and while I'm also learning German.
Right.
So this is quite fun, working with children in German, and they're kind of more forgiving in a way. But it's really nice. We have a local school just down the road, and they come and they get a chance to. We have such a huge array of instruments in the percussion department that they get this chance to come and really try create music with us and do workshops and get to play things that they would never have this opportunity. It's really nice.
I mean, you're used to having audiences that know what it is that you do, and so they're maybe part of they're in the know in a sense in that way. But with the kids, do you find that do you find a different degree of openness to the types of music that you play, or how do they respond to? It's just different, I imagine, from what
they're really up for it. There's no sort of prejudice.
Right.
It's really like. In a way, they don't. Yeah, they can't say, "Oh no, we'd rather listen to Beethoven." Everything for them is new. So I always think it's very open, and I mean, for them, it's really fun to be involved in the end. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's a wonderful aspect of what you do, and I think that's an important part of preservation of self as well down the road. But maybe you could speak a bit about what's kind of upcoming next for Klangforum in the coming months, year that you're aware of, or like are you traveling a lot more, or do you get a break, or?
It's busy. The next few months are really busy. So I think we've got the centenary year of Ligeti this year, yeah?
Yeah.
So we'll be playing a lot of Ligeti.
Fantastic.
We'll be traveling to Budapest and Heidelberg in Germany, and so this violin concerto, cello concerto, piano concerto.
Wonderful. Are you doing the chamber concerto too?
Yes.
Wonderful.
A fantastic piece. We played this a month ago as well, so that's really nice. We have a really exciting program next week from Enno Poppe.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Always
absolutely.
to play is
Yeah.
such great music to play, and we're playing his complete Spiker. And we play it in Vienna and in Amsterdam and Rotterdam.
Nice.
So we do. It's always really nice to do a tour of the same piece.
Yeah, you get to know it a bit more and have a chance to.
Yeah, and this is what I've really enjoyed coming into Klangforum, is like often, or as often as we can, we don't just play a piece once. This can be quite dangerous in new music. You get one chance and then it's kind of discarded, and we really try to preserve the music we're playing. So to get 3 chances at the piece, something develops in this tour as well. With
That's a wonderful attitude. I've always joked about wishing that there were ensembles that focused on second performances.
Yeah.
Just to give those, because that's always the big lament of composers, is that they get that one shot with the commissioner and they get but then nothing goes quite right. And they have, they find this out at the last rehearsal, and they don't have a chance for this music to kind of grow. As a musician. So that's wonderful that you do that. That's really great. And the Ligeti, I mean, I'm excited about that. I mean, that's wonderful. We're featuring a program that's going to have the Ligeti Horn Trio.
That's fantastic,
so it's another great. And then, of course, these are pieces that reference, not that we need to be talking about Ligeti, but these are pieces that reference each other in many different ways, like the violin concerto and all these. So that's wonderful. Most of his stuff is at the Paul Zacher Stiftung, but we have Ramifications was a commission. So that's the one Ligeti.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic piece to have.
Yeah, wonderful. My goal is to get that piece played, here at some point. But we'll see. But well, this is wonderful. So you're in town. You're leaving tomorrow.
Yes.
And then off to do these other. And you're doing a work by Chaya Czernowin as well. Is that right? Wonderful. And that's just a couple days away.
Yes.
So is it, how long of I guess just a few more questions. How long of a gestation period do you have for putting together a new work? Is it different for a work by Ligeti that's really well known, or versus, a new work by Eliza Lim? Or?
Yeah, exactly. It's something that we discuss as an ensemble. Some are in charge of how many we need, and always for a new work needs more time. Especially with Klangforum have such a big repertoire, often it'll be it's played a lot, so you can just kind of pull it out, and do a few rehearsals. But I have to say, from my experience of where I've worked before, there's a lot of rehearsals here, like a lot of time put into each piece, a lot of care, you know?
Yeah.
So I think everything receives a lot of care, and of course, but a new piece often requires a lot more time, yeah.
You know, I think it's one of those things that audiences, I mean, I guess a lot of people recognize this, but sometimes they don't realize that the success of a new work requires such commitment on the part of the performers to, you know, possibly learn new systems of playing, you know, all types of things like that go into it with, you know, especially if you only get that one shot, that's just, you know, it may or may not be, you know, as effective. But when you have advocacy of the type that your ensemble does for these new works, then these pieces have a chance to become successful.
Yeah.
In artistically successful.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add about what you're up to, or the program, or what's it like traveling these days? And
I mean, it's just really good fun. I have to say, you know, post COVID, it's great to get around and, you know, not have to do a PCR every time.
Right.
But yeah, I think we'll be playing in the Siemens Stiftung. It's the 50th anniversary concert.
Wonderful.
In Berlin. It's a bit of a highlight for myself because it's we're playing Berio Shaman 2 for viola and ensemble. So this is, you know, really exciting for me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
To do this. And I mean, you get so many opportunities coming to this group, you know, personally and then as a group. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that you do these. Again, I think of them as classic works for, you know, Berio Ubi. This is the classical repertoire of new music, and so it's wonderful that you do those alongside these new.
Yeah, I think it's good to still take care of these things, and it could be a shame to lose them. Let's say between classical and now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, and it's nice to speak with you, and I'm looking forward to the concert tonight very much.
Me too.